Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of the Spiritual Inspired Show. I am your host, Claudiu Murgan. For previous episodes, please visit spiritualinspired.ca or our network or our YouTube channel. My guest today is Colleen Quinn. Colleen, thank you for joining me today.
Claudiu, thank you so much for having me. I'm just talking with you now. I feel so connected with you and I love your energy, and I want to applaud your mission to raise the frequency of the collective and inspire so many people. So thank you.
Thank you for the kind words. And I would like to start with easy questions. I had the chance to browse your book. I didn't read it fully yet, but I will. And I would like to start by asking you that your pneumonia became a life or death initiation. Do you believe illness can serve as a spiritual summons rather than merely a medical event?
Oh, for sure. I think that all pain serves the potential for growth. Growth can never, we don't grow from a comfortable place. We don't change what's working. Pain from the very beginning of our life, those labor pains are necessary to bring us into this new dimension. So we're born in that reality, that cycle. That pain is required for growth to happen. Now we can close our hearts from the pain and they get harder, but the truth is that love never gives up. Love never stops knocking on the door of our heart. And I call them love squeezes now. Because pain, even wrapping that word pain around it, makes it more daunting. But if you call it a challenge or a love squeeze, you're attaching a higher, more receptive vibration to the experience. But it is required for growth to happen. And that near death experience really got me to take stock in my life. I'm a psychologist. I helped a lot of people. But in that moment when they said I would live, I didn't have an autoimmune disease, but I was very, very sick. I got that opportunity to reflect, what did my life mean? What was my legacy? Who would show up to my funeral? And I realized that my life had fallen woefully short of what I wanted. And I realized that love is all that's worth creating. It's all that lasts. It's all that there is. And I needed to devote myself to love. So I asked to be love in every moment. And Claudia, I really believe from my personal experience and people that I've worked with that when you get to the very end of your strength, when there's no more of your own will left and you are stripped down, you're finally vulnerable enough to let that light in. You have that crack in your heart that love can come in and open up. And those prayers are always answered very quickly, and major changes happen.
And I also think that we go through these moments to be tested. You mentioned will, could be the will of living. Do we still want to live? Is our soul ready to go, move on, or still want to experience in this body? So maybe it is us being stripped away from the ego, but at the same time, we are tested on our will to move forward with this new identity.
For sure, will is one of the strongest intentional motivators to bring into form. And our life force is so much stronger than we give it credit for. I think about how, there's epidemic depression and loneliness and anxiety going on globally. And yet, look at the life force within those souls. It is so strong, and those people continue on. So, I think if we're being honest, we do want to be here. But I want to segue to my first near death experience. I was literally in the tunnel with the light. And it's such a peace and a love that you would do whatever the light asks you. but you don't speak in words, you speak in thoughts. And the lights conveyed to me, we would like you to go back, but it's your choice. That was powerful. That was 25 years before the pneumonia. And I realized for the first time, I'm choosing this. This is not happening to me. I'm choosing to be here. That is a very powerful shift in mindset. It's empowering. And really we are all choosing. Every day that we wake up is another day that we chose. So I hope your listeners think about that and let it settle in for a few minutes because it is empowering.
Yes, and I'm glad that you mentioned the tunnel and the light because there is a new trend with various, people in the spiritual community mentioning that the light, in fact, is a trap, and they want us to go back, and they give us the false impression that it is our will. But they don't want us, I mean, those who are in control of the matrix, they don't want us to get away. They need our energy and they want us to go back. What is your feeling and your take on it?
I'm really glad you brought that up. I do a lot of Joe Dispenza meditations. Are you familiar with him?
Yes.
And so he'll send us into the quantum field, which he routinely says is darkness. And then I said to my own husband, it might be dark, but there's a lot going on. There's a lot of energy. And one time he said it's filled with energy. Well, that energy are light sparks. And so what my experience has taught me is that it's like the yin yang symbol. It's the wholeness. God is the wholeness that runs through everything. We were all together in the Big Bang, before the Big Bang. We were all unique manifestations of the one. And so naturally, everything is in that oneness, the full darkness and the full light. The light needs the darkness to reflect off of. The darkness needs the light to show its full darkness. All is in there. But the truth is, it's all love. And so beyond the light is that noetic, full body, sensory, soul experience of this love and peace that is indescribable. So that's what I would say to that. It's all there.
Thank you. And Colleen, did you feel a difference between, like spiritually speaking, between your first and second near-death experience?
I did. And for all of us, Claudiu, I think that these lessons are tailor-made for what we need. So the first time, there's a little bit of a backstory, but my brother died in a car accident when I was 27 and he was 12. And he was like a son to me. That was, till then, the hardest thing I had ever gone through. Um, and I realized that part of me died when he died. I let that die. It was like it was a delusion, but I felt that I would be dishonoring him to fully enjoy life, even though he loved life and was the funniest person I ever met. I had these delusional thoughts. And so I wasn't fully alive. I needed to have that first death experience to realize I was choosing this. And it wasn't until years later, when I was being trained as a breath worker, that the person training me said, wow, you must have had some kind of death energy around you to draw that car accident to you. Now that's controversial, but it resonated with me. I needed that experience, and that changes our mindset around it. I wasn't a victim, even though I was hit head on in my lane. I needed that to choose it. And I still had this view of God, that God is this patriarchal figure outside of me. It wasn't until my pneumonia where I'm struggling to find a breath, my lungs are bleeding, and the poetic irony in that is not lost on me, that when I made that plea to be love in every moment, I was immediately sent to Costa Rica to this retreat where I learned breath work. And it was through breath work that I realized that God is not this anthropomorphic figure outside of me. God is the essence of love that runs through every animate and inanimate object. Everything is 99.99% space. Every cell is got a magnetic field that whirls around. That magnetic field is that intelligent love energy that we call God. So in that way, I am fully God with all of the almighty powers of love. You are fully God. And so you are not better than me or worse than me. We are one and the same. We are equal. And that relationship changes everything. It allows us to call a sacred relating into every experience, whether I'm folding laundry or having a conversation with another being. If it's all an experience with God, it becomes sacred. It changes every moment.
Indeed. And because you mentioned the retreat in Costa Rica, are you still attending retreats with your boots on, or are you now taking them off?
Well, so yeah, you mentioned that you had started to read my book. In the end of my book, sadly, Epeneman dies. So he's dropped his body. He's still with me. I love him dearly, and he is probably the greatest manifestation of love that I've ever known. And I'm so grateful for his how he's rubbed his essence off on me. I'm so grateful for all of his mentorship. And I go to other retreats. I mentioned Joe Dispenza. I've been to several Joe Dispenza retreats. I think there's such a value in setting the time aside to nourish our soul. I do it every morning. I often think of the chakras, they roll around in balance, but every moment that we're not fully standing in our conscious breath, every moment that we're too fast, too overwhelmed, too stressed, we get out of our breath and usually come up to our heads. And so I look at it like I cooked in my kitchen all day long. My kitchen's dirty. I need to clean these chakras, clean my kitchen in the morning. And when I go back to read what happens in breath work, meditation, and with psychedelics is your energy body leaves your physical body and it magnetizes to that energy field. You're back in the oneness. That's what we all want. When we're in the oneness, we feel the feelings of bliss. We call it love, what it really is that union. It's that union that's in our DNA that we all remember from before the Big Bang. And that bliss, when we feel it's in our pineal glands, is a chemical called DMT. Do you know what DMT is, Claudiu?
Yes, yeah, and we have it in our body, and that increases when we do sacred plant medicine. Dear friends, I would like to personally thank you for your support by watching Spiritual Inspired show, joining Oraver's network, and promoting us to the world. We try to bring fresh information and knowledge to those who are looking for a personal development, who want to watch those spiritual leaders and people who waken up to their full potential, telling about their experiences and their journeys. Please go on YouTube and join our channel. Is under my name, Claudiu Murgan, and also tell your friends about joining Oraverse network. We are here for you to enrich your spiritual journey And until next time, love and gratitude
That's
also.
right. So
Yeah.
it's the plant medicine releases it, but it's dormant in our pineal gland. It gets released into our cells. And what's fascinating is when that DMT comes into our cells, it sends a message of well-being, but we get an interstitial fluid upgrade. With that higher fluid, we can amplify at a higher frequency. It's easier. So that's one of the many benefits. But so we then fill ourselves with well-being and bliss, and we then can take it out into the day and spill it out everywhere. Well, I don't know about you, but my days are so much better when I protect that time first to fill myself up with the bliss and the wholeness and the remembrance of who I really am.
Yes, I alternate breath work with other type of meditation. So some days I do breath work, some days I do meditate on specific strategies. I have my own procedure in the morning and also at night. So yes, I do alternate those.